Good afternoon, Dr. Wallach.
Hi, how can we help you?
I have been using youngevity products for approximately 1.5 years and have experienced many positive results, and I truly thank you for that.
Thank you. What's
and
up?
Today I received my first blood test results since I started with youngevity, and most results were positive, I'm glad to report. Now, I do have, however, 3 questions regarding the results, and I want you to know that my primary physician has agreed to listen to this broadcast archive to hear your responses.
Okay.
So my first is regarding my high vitamin B level, which is greater than 2,000 with the reference range between 200 and 1,100 pg/ml.
Okay, now when you say vitamin B levels, wait a minute, are you talking about vitamin B12, or are you talking about B1, or
B12.
All B vitamins, or?
B12.
Okay. All right, well, you have to appreciate that the reference range is based on people who do not supplement. It's based on people who just eat food. And meat eaters and people who eat eggs will be between 800 and 1,100. But people who eat liver will be about 2,000. And so you're getting a lot more B12 than the average person who's just eating diets without liver. Okay, so that's the answer to that question. Remember, the references are people who do not supplement. It doesn't include people who supplement.
Quick question regarding
the B12. Yeah, I've been taking, the 90 cents of nutrients twice a day for 68 years, and my B12, runs higher than the reference. That's because I've been supplementing twice a day for 68 years.
Okay, well,
There's no negative.
I've taken the D-Stress, the BTT 2.0 Ultimate Daily, which all have B12, and
exactly.
I have noticed some tingling, my mouth, and some in other places, and I was wondering if this could contribute to the tingling effect that I've been experiencing.
Well, all things are possible, and so I'm not silly enough to say no, because it could be many things. You could have degenerative disc disease in your neck, can cause tingling in your hands and your face. You can have osteoporosis of the skull. Let me ask you a couple of quick questions here before we go on to the other questions you have. Let me ask you a couple of questions. Oh, that's sound here, so we're going to run to one of those message moments. And hang on, we'll come back, then I'll ask you my questions. Okay, Doug, let's go right back to New York and Cheryl. Let me ask you a couple of quick questions here, Cheryl. Did you ever have asthma or bronchitis?
No.
Okay. Did you ever have skin problems, eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you have a gluten intolerance, okay? And yourself and your spouse and your dog and your cat and your bird and your fish, kids, mother-in-law, everybody living in the household has got to be gluten-free. You got to get grain-free animal foods, and everybody else in the house has got to be gluten-free because of cross-contamination of laundry, food preparation surfaces, the couch, where everybody watches TV, and the bed you sleep in with your spouse, and so on. And so that's the one thing. Another thing, sometimes people doesn't take much. Even non-flush niacin, B3, can cause kind of tingling, itching, that kind of stuff. And so you just need to make sure that that's not what's going on here. So what you can do, the thing that has the most B12 in it would be the D-Stress capsules. So why don't you leave the D-Stress capsules out, say for 2 weeks, and see if that doesn't reduce or eliminate that tingling. And then, of course, you have to be drop-dead gluten-free. Again, I can't stress that enough, because you have a history of the skin problems, which means you do have a severe gluten intolerance. If you have children, you need to pass that information on to them. Your siblings, your brothers and sisters, if your mom's still alive, you need to pass that information on to her. Okay, and so let's start there with the tingling in the hands and face and so forth. Okay, so let's go to the next question.
Yes, the next one is I am working to correct a calcium deficiency, and my current reading is 9.9 with a reference range of 8.6 to 10.4, and I want to know what you would consider to be a healthy range for me, considering I am trying to correct a calcium deficiency.
Okay. And, of course, you could have a calcium deficiency even if you're supplementing appropriately for your weight with the healthy bone and joint pack or the healthy brain and heart pack with the extra glucogel. I mean, even if you're supplementing properly, if you have a gluten intolerance, you might be only absorbing 10 or 15% of the nutrients you're taking in. Okay, so that's a possibility. If you've been taking this for a year and a half, you shouldn't have a calcium deficiency. Well, you're within the reference range if you're 9.9, and certainly 8.5 to 10.5 is a reference I like to use. When you get above that, when you get to, say, 15 or 20 or something like that, you have a raging calcium deficiency, and your parathyroid glands are pulling calcium out of your bones, and so you're right in that range. Now, the scary thing here is, Cheryl, that you really can't trust that reference number, because if you have osteoporosis and you've had a history of kidney stones or bone spurs or noisy joints or fractures or anything like that, or just by bone density tests you have osteoporosis, what happens here is your body works to maintain homeostasis. It wants to stay in the normal reference range. So your parathyroid glands will keep pulling calcium out of your bones to maintain your blood calcium levels. Sometimes they overreact and you get elevated blood calcium. It still means you're not taking in enough calcium in your diet, or you're not efficiently absorbing. Okay, so you really need to look at what you're eating. Okay, you can't eat oatmeal, even gluten-free oatmeal. There is no such thing as gluten-free oatmeal. The gluten in oatmeal is called gliadin, and even though you call it by another name, it's still gluten. So there is no such thing. So no wheat, no barley, no rye, no oats. Okay, and then we'll come back. We'll take one more shot at the next question after these messages. Okay, Doug, let's go right back one more time here to Cheryl in New York. And so what's the third question here?
Okay, I really appreciate you. My total cholesterol reading is 296, and my non-HDL cholesterol is 192, which are both considered high. How would you respond to those? Sure.
Okay, well, this can be kind of a Shar thing here. Shar, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. You've heard so many versions of high cholesterol and low cholesterol. What do you think about Cheryl, whose blood cholesterol is did you say 296, Cheryl?
296 with a range of 125 to 200.
Okay.
I would say it's good, because the Eskimos' cholesterol is over like 350 to 500, and they never get heart attacks. So
yeah.
High is good.
Yeah, basically, Char is quite correct here, Cheryl. The normal range is from the University of Colorado back in the 1990s, where they did a big study on cholesterol levels and heart attacks and so forth. And in that study, published, says that blood cholesterol should be 220 to 270. 200 and below are way, way too low, and that's what caused Alzheimer's disease. Doctors who insisted that their patients get on a cholesterol-restricted diet, no egg yolks, no meat, absolutely no buttercream or lard, physicians have caused Alzheimer's disease. It's a cholesterol deficiency disease because the myelin in the brain, the insulation material in the brain, is primarily cholesterol. And when you get on a cholesterol-restricted diet, you get on cholesterol-lowering drugs, the statin drugs, you cannot reduce your cholesterol that much and not get Alzheimer's disease. I mean, we're talking about double-blind studies for 10 years, 5,000 people, randomized, big studies from the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine in Baltimore, Maryland, very well respected. Of course, I was saying these things back in the 60s and 70s because I'm seeing all this when I did my 20,000 autopsies and 10 million chemistries and everything, that what they were saying about Alzheimer's disease was absolutely false. And it turns out the whole thing with cholesterol was an advertising campaign paid for by Procter & Gamble. They gave the American Heart Association $1.7 million to demonize cholesterol and saturated fats so that Procter & Gamble could sell Crisco. Okay? That's the short version of it. And this was a full-page article in the Wall Street Journal about 2 years ago. I couldn't find the pivotal study that showed that cholesterol and saturated were bad. I looked for 35 years to find the pivotal study that showed that cholesterol and saturated fat were bad. I never could find it. And the reason why, Cheryl, I couldn't find it was it never existed. The whole thing, demonizing cholesterol and saturated fat, was a sales campaign by Procter & Gamble, And, of course, it was fostered by the American Heart Association because they paid the American Heart Association $1.7 million to endorse Crisco as a healthier way to eat. It was all an ad campaign. And they've killed billions of people around the industrialized world with that false claim. The cholesterol and saturated fat are bad. So you're way too low. You're way too low. You need to get up in at least the mid-200s, 250 to 275. 350 is really where you want to go.